Your father signed it himself. That's all you're worth. My stepmother smirked after the will. Reading gave her the house, the accounts, everything, and left my sister and me with just $5,000 each. But she didn't know I had video of what happened in that bedroom. What would you do if the one person who was supposed to protect your father's last wishes was the same person who destroyed them? My name is Colby Hayes, and I need to tell you what happened to my family. My father, Darren Hayes, was a carpenter, not the kind who builds decks on weekends, the kind who could walk into a house, run his hand along a wall, and tell you exactly what was wrong with it. He built custom homes for 30 years in Richmond, Virginia. Good homes, homes that people raise families in. He wasn't rich, but he was comfortable. He'd saved well. He had invested smart and owned our family home outright. No mortgage, no debt. Just a man who worked with his hands and planned for the future. My mom died when I was 14. Cancer. Macy was 9. I remember the morning after the funeral, Dad sitting at the kitchen table with 2 bowls of cereal in front of him. One for me, one for Macy. His eyes were swollen, his hands were shaking. But the cereal was there. That's who Darren Hayes was. Broken apart on the inside, but still showing up. For 3 years, it was just the 3 of us. Dad, me, and Macy. I stepped up where I could, made lunches, helped with homework, drove Macy to school when I got my license. Dad worked. We survived. Not perfectly, but we survived. Then Lori showed up. Dad met Lori Pearson on some dating app when I was 17. Macy was 12. He hadn't dated anyone since Mom died, and honestly, I was happy for him at first. He deserved someone. He deserved to not eat dinner alone every night after we went to our rooms. Lori was charming, I'll give her that. She had this warm smile, this way of making you feel like you were the most important person in the room. She brought Macy gifts, little things, jewelry, books, hair stuff. She'd ask me about school and actually seem interested. She cooked dinner for us. She laughed at Dad's terrible jokes. She seems nice, Dad, I told him one evening after Lori left. He smiled. Really smiled. First time in years. Yeah, she does, doesn't she? They got married 8 months later. Small ceremony. Macy was the flower girl. I was Dad's best man. And I stood there watching my father look happy again. And I thought, okay, maybe this is good. And maybe we're going to be okay. Here's what I didn't know. What none of us knew. Trent Hollis, my best friend since elementary school, the kind of guy who double-checks everything because that's just how his brain works, told me something 2 years later that I wish I'd known from the start. He'd been messing around online, doing what Trent does, and he found Lori's profile on 3 different dating apps, all from before she met Dad. And on every single one, her preferences were the same. Men over 50, homeowners, financially stable, widowed or divorced. She wasn't looking for love. She was shopping. But I didn't know that yet. Not for a long time. For the first few years, things were fine. Normal, even. Lori settled into the house. She redecorated. Dad let her, said it made the place feel fresh. She and Macy got close. Really close. Lori became the mother figure Macy had been missing since she was 9 years old. I couldn't compete with that, and I didn't try to. Macy deserved a woman in her life. If Lori was that person, fine. But I noticed things. Small things. Like how Lori would subtly undercut me in front of Macy. Nothing obvious, just little comments. Colby, you really should visit more. Macy was asking about you the other day. She misses you. Sounds nice, right? Except I'd been there 3 days ago, and Macy hadn't said anything about missing me. But Lori planted that seed, the idea that I was absent, that I wasn't around enough, that she was the one who was always there. Or the time Macy got into an argument with me about something stupid. I don't even remember what. And Lori pulled her aside afterward. I heard her through the door. Don't worry about Colby, sweetheart. He means well, but he doesn't always understand what you need. I'm here for you. I stood outside that door and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, something quieter. Like watching someone build a wall between you and your sister, one brick at a time, and knowing that if you say anything, you'll look like the crazy one. So I said nothing. Second biggest mistake of my life. I moved out at 22, got a job as a data analyst at a firm downtown. Small apartment, nothing fancy. I visited Dad every Sunday. Lori was always there, always pleasant, Always that warm smile. Macy was in high school by then, and she was more Lori's daughter than mine in every way that mattered. Not by blood, by design. Everything changed when Dad got sick. Pancreatic cancer. See, stage 3 by the time they found it. The doctors sat us all down, me, Macy, Lori, and laid it out. We can treat it aggressively, but I want to be honest with you. The prognosis isn't good. Dad took it like he took everything. Quiet nod, steady eyes. He looked at me and Macy and said, "We're going to be fine. Whatever happens, we're going to be fine." Lori cried. She held Dad's hand and sobbed into his shoulder, and everyone in that room felt sorry for her. Everyone thought, "Thank God Darren has someone by his side through this." Everyone except me. Because when Lori pulled away from that hug, when she thought nobody was looking, I saw her eyes. Dry, completely dry. The sobbing, the shaking, but no tears. Not one. I told myself I was imagining it. I told myself grief looks different on everyone. I told myself a lot of things. Ash Dad declined fast. Within 4 months, he was mostly bedridden. Home hospice. The living room became his room. Hospital bed, IV drip, the works. Lori managed his medication schedule. She controlled who visited and when. She was the gatekeeper, and nobody questioned it because she was his wife. But I noticed the access was getting tighter. I'd show up on Sunday and Lori would meet me at the door. "He's sleeping right now, Colby. Maybe come back in a few hours?" I'd come back. He'd be too tired. I'd come the next day. The nurse said he needs rest. One Tuesday, I showed up unannounced. Didn't call ahead, just walked in. Dad was awake, alert, sitting up in bed watching TV. He looked at me and his whole face lit up. "Colby, hey son, where have you been?" "I've been trying to come by, Dad. Lori said you were resting." Something crossed his face, something I'd never seen before. He looked toward the hallway, checking if Lori was nearby. And then he grabbed my wrist. Hard. His grip was weak from the illness, but the intention behind it was fierce. "Colby, listen to me. She's not who you think she is." "Dad, what are you?" "Don't let her take what I built for you and Macy. Promise me." "Dad, promise me, Colby. I promise." He let go of my wrist. His eyes were wet. He looked exhausted, like that one sentence had taken everything out of him. 30 seconds later, he was asleep. I sat there for an hour, watching him breathe, and I made a decision. The next day, I bought a small camera. Nothing expensive. One of those nanny cams that looks like a phone charger. You plug it into the wall and nobody thinks twice about it. I went to Dad's house when Lori was out getting groceries and plugged it into the outlet in the bedroom. The room where Dad's important documents were kept. The room where his desk was. The room where the filing cabinet with his will was locked. Trent helped me set up the app on my phone so I could watch the feed remotely. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Dad told me to watch her, so I'm watching." That's not exactly what he said. Close enough. The camera sat there for 5 days recording nothing interesting. Lori going in and out, grabbing papers, making phone calls. Normal stuff. I started to think maybe I was paranoid. Maybe Dad's medication was making him confused. Maybe I was looking for a villain because I needed someone to blame for losing my father. Then on day 6, the camera caught something. It was 11 p.m. and Dad was in the living room, sedated, barely conscious. Lori walked into the bedroom. She closed the door. She pulled out her phone and made a call. I watched live from my apartment, headphones in, heart pounding. "Hey, it's me," she said. Her voice was different, lighter, softer, not the voice she used with us. "Yeah, he's out. The new dosage knocked him completely. He won't wake up until morning." She laughed at something the person said. Then, "I know, baby. I know. Soon. Once this is all done, it's just you and me. I promise. We just have to be patient a little longer." "Baby." She called someone baby while my father was dying in the next room. I almost threw up. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. But I kept watching, because Dad told me to watch, and I promised. 3 days later, the camera caught what I was actually waiting for. A man came to the house at 2 p.m. on a Thursday. Not the family lawyer. I knew our family lawyer, Jim Pearson. No relation to Lori's maiden name, or so I thought at the time. This was someone different. Young, slick suit, briefcase. Lori let him in. They went straight to the bedroom. Lori had documents ready. spread out on the desk. The man pulled out more papers from his briefcase. They talked in low voices, but the camera picked up enough. "These are the new terms," the man said. "Everything transfers to you upon his passing. The house, the accounts, the investment portfolio. The children receive a nominal amount, 5,000 each." 5,000, Lori repeated, "from a man worth over $1 million. That's not going to look suspicious? It's your husband's will. He can leave whatever he wants to whoever he wants, as long as he signs it. He'll sign it. Mrs. Hayes, I need to ask, is your husband in a state to? He'll sign it. That's my problem, not yours." The lawyer hesitated, then nodded. "Bring him in whenever you're ready." 20 minutes later, Lori wheeled my father into the bedroom. He was in a wheelchair. His head was drooping. His eyes were half closed. He was so heavily medicated that he couldn't hold his own head up, and this woman was about to make him sign away his children's future. Lori put the pen in his hand. She held his hand. She guided it to the paper. "Just sign here, honey," she whispered. "It's just some paperwork. Nothing to worry about." Dad's hand moved, barely. A scrawl that looked nothing like his signature, but it was on paper. The lawyer notarized it. Lori smiled. And then she said the words that I will never ever forget. "That wasn't so hard, was it?" And she laughed. Standing over my dying father, she laughed. I sat in my apartment, watching through that tiny camera, and I cried. Not quiet tears. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere deep and primal. Because that man in the wheelchair, that shell of a person who couldn't hold a pen, that was my father. The man who made me cereal the morning after my mother's funeral. The man who taught me to drive, who came to every school event, who worked with his hands for 30 years so his kids would never struggle. And this woman just stole his entire legacy while he was too drugged to know it was happening. I saved the footage, every second of it, and I waited. Dad died on a Sunday morning. Peaceful, they said, in his sleep. I was there, holding his hand. Macy was there too, crying into Lori's shoulder. And Lori had her arm around Macy, stroking her hair, playing the grieving widow to perfection. The funeral was 3 days later. Lori's performance was flawless. Black dress, trembling hands, a eulogy that made half the room cry. She talked about how Darren was the love of her life and how she couldn't imagine going on without him. I sat in the front row and watched her, and during the reception I saw her step into the bathroom. Through the crack in the door, she was on her phone, smiling, texting someone with her thumbs moving fast, the way you text when you're excited about something. I looked away. Not yet, I told myself. Not yet. The will reading was 2 weeks after the funeral. Family lawyer's office. Me, Macy, Lori, Ash and Jim Pearson, the actual family lawyer. Except Jim wasn't reading the will, because the will on file had been replaced. The new will, Lori's will, was presented instead. Jim read it out loud. Everything to Lori. House, savings, investments, even Mom's jewelry. The jewelry my mother wore, that Dad had kept in a box in his closet for years. $5,000 each for me and Macy. That's it. Macy didn't react. She sat there quietly, holding Lori's hand. She'd been conditioned to trust this woman. 5,000 from a father who adored her didn't even register as wrong. Me? I sat there and said nothing. Jim looked at me with something in his eyes. Confusion, maybe sympathy. But I gave him nothing. Blank face. No objection, no anger. Lori glanced at me, looking for a reaction. I gave her a polite nod. Okay, I said. Ask if that's what Dad wanted. She blinked. She expected a fight. She'd prepared for a fight. And I gave her absolutely nothing, because I had the video, and I wasn't ready yet. I waited 3 months. Trent thought I was crazy. You have the evidence, Colby. Why are you waiting? Because I want her comfortable. I want her spending. I want her showing everyone exactly who she is before I pull the floor out. That's cold. No, that's patient. And Lori did exactly what I expected. Within weeks, she bought a new car. BMW started renovating the house. Dad's house. The house he built with his own hands. She took trips, posted on social media, living her best life on a dead man's money. Meanwhile, Trent was doing what Trent does best, digging, and what he found changed everything. Colby, sit down, he said one evening at his apartment. His laptop was open, multiple tabs. What did you find? Lori Pearson, before she was Lori Hayes. Before she was Lori Pearson, actually. She was Lori Whitfield. Okay. She was married before to a man named Gerald Whitfield, 62 years old, owned a construction company in Norfolk. Guess what happened? My stomach dropped. He got sick. Lung cancer. 2 years after they married. Will got changed right before he died. Everything went to Lori. Gerald's son, Nathan Whitfield, tried to fight it in court. Lost. No evidence. She's done this before. She's done this before. I sat there staring at Trent's laptop. 2 families, 2 dying men, 2 stolen wills, same woman. Find Nathan, I said. Already did. He lives in Norfolk. Works at a hardware store. Lost everything in the court case. Legal fees wiped him out. Set up a meeting. I met Nathan Whitfield at a diner off I-64 on a rainy Wednesday afternoon. He was mid-30s, tired eyes, the kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from years of carrying something heavy with no way to put it down. He had a coffee in front of him that he hadn't touched. I sat down across from him. He looked at me the way you look at a stranger who might also be a mirror. You said on the phone this was about Lori, he said. No small talk, no pleasantries, just that name, dropped on the table like a grenade. Lori Pearson, or Lori Whitfield when you knew her. She goes by Lori Hayes now. Nathan's jaw tightened. Hayes? So she married again. My father, Darren Hayes, carpenter, owned his home, had savings, had a life. She married him 3 years after my mother died. How long before he got sick? 4 years. My dad lasted 3. He finally picked up his coffee. His hand wasn't steady. Let me guess. He gets sick. She takes over everything. Medication, visitors, schedule. Cuts you off slowly. Brings in her own lawyer. Will gets changed. Almost identical. Nathan put the coffee down. He pressed both hands flat on the table, like he was trying to keep himself grounded. I tried to prove it, Colby. I tried for 2 years. Spent every dollar I had on lawyers. But I had nothing. No evidence. Just my word against hers, and she had a signed document with my father's name on it. The judge looked at me like I was a bitter stepson trying to steal from his father's widow. I have evidence. He looked up. What kind? Video. Hidden camera in the bedroom. I caught the whole thing. Her bringing in the lawyer. Dad barely conscious. Her guiding his hand on the pen. Her laughing about it afterward. Nathan's hands started shaking. Properly shaking. He pulled them off the table and put them in his lap. She laughed? She said, "That wasn't so hard, was it?" And then she laughed, while my father was sitting there unable to hold his own head up. Nathan closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were wet. Not crying, just that glassy look people get when something they buried a long time ago suddenly claws its way back to the surface. You have no idea how long I've waited to hear someone say they have proof. She took everything from my family. My dad's house, his business, 30 years he spent building it, my inheritance, my future. I was 22 years old working at a hardware store, trying to figure out how to pay for community college because the money my dad saved for me was gone, and she just walked away. New city, new name, new target. She's not walking away this time, Nathan. What do you need from me? The truth, in court, your story, the pattern. Can you do that? Nathan leaned forward. For the first time since I sat down, the tiredness in his eyes was replaced by something else. Something sharp. I'll do more than that. I'll drive there myself. I'll sit in that courtroom and I'll look her in the eye and I'll tell every single person in that room exactly what she did to my father. And then I'll watch her try to smile her way out of it. We shook hands across the table. 2 strangers connected by the same predator. 2 sons who lost their fathers twice. Once to illness. And once to the woman standing beside their beds. Before I went to court, I went to Macy. She was living at the house, Dad's house, with Lori. I asked her to meet me at a coffee shop. She came, but she was cold, arms crossed, guarded. She sat across from me like I was a stranger, like the years of lunches I made and drives to school didn't exist. What do you want, Colby? How are you doing, Mace? I'm fine. What do you want? Straight to the point, no warmth. Lori had spent years building this wall, and it was solid. I need you to do something for me. Don't ask why, just do it. That's not how this works. You don't get to disappear for months and then show up making demands. I haven't disappeared. Lori's been telling you I don't come around. I've been trying, Macy. She turns me away at the door. That's not true. See, she would never. Macy, just do this one thing. If I'm wrong about everything, you never have to talk to me again. Deal? She stared at me, weighing it. Then she uncrossed her arms. Fine. What? Check your college fund, the one Dad set up. Why? Just check it, Macy, please. She rolled her eyes, but she did it. Pulled out her phone, logged into the account. I watched her face change in real time. Confusion first, eyebrows pulling together, then her lips parted slightly, then panic. It's empty. I know. There was $40,000 in here. Dad put money in every year since I was born. He showed me the statements every birthday. He used to say, "This is your launch pad, Mace. Ask Lori where it went." Maybe Dad used it for medical bills. The treatment was expensive. Check the medical records. She insurance covered the treatment, Macy. Every dime. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the crack. Small, but there. The first fracture in the wall Lori had spent years building. What's going on, Colby? What aren't you telling me? Come to my apartment tonight. I'll show you everything. And I mean everything. She came at 8 p.m. I sat her down in front of my laptop. I told her what I was about to show her would hurt. I told her I was sorry it had to be this way. Then I played the video, all of it. The phone call with the boyfriend. It's just you and me soon, baby. The lawyer arriving with the new will. Dad in the wheelchair, head drooping, eyes barely open. Lori putting the pen in his hand. Lori guiding the signature. And then, that wasn't so hard, was it? Followed by that laugh. Macy watched without speaking, and without moving, without breathing, it seemed like. When it was over, the room was silent for a long time. Then Macy spoke, and her voice sounded like it was coming from somewhere far away. I defended her. Every time you tried to warn me, every time you looked at her sideways, I told you to stop. She told me you were jealous. She told me you resented her for replacing Mom. She said you couldn't handle that Dad moved on, and I believed her. Every single word. I chose her over you, Colby, my own brother. You didn't know, Macy. She's good at this. This is what she does. She's done it before. What do you mean, done it before? I told her about Nathan, about Gerald Whitfield, about the pattern, the dating apps, the older men, the sickness, the will change, the disappearing act. Macy put her head in her hands and cried, not quietly. The kind of crying that comes from realizing the person you trusted most was a lie. Every memory with Lori, every gift, every hug, every "I'm here for you, sweetheart," all of it recontextualized in an instant, all of it poisoned. I sat next to her. I didn't say anything. I just put my hand on her back and let her cry. Because sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes words make it worse. When she was done, she looked up at me with red, swollen eyes and said something that almost broke me. I'm sorry, Colby. I'm so sorry I wasn't on your side. You're here now. That's what matters. What do? We go to court, and we end this. I hired an estate litigation attorney named Sandra Park, best in Richmond, 14 years of experience, zero tolerance for exactly the kind of thing Lori pulled. I showed her the video, Nathan's story, the doctor's fraudulent competency letter, the drained college fund. She watched the video twice. The second time, she paused it at the frame where Lori is laughing. This is one of the clearest cases of elder exploitation I've ever seen, she said, and I've seen a lot. Can we win? Colby, we're not just going to win. We're going to make sure she never does this to anyone again. The court date came 6 weeks later. Lori's lawyer tried to get the video thrown out first thing, stood up, buttoned his jacket, and made his argument with the confidence of a man who thought he had a winning hand. Your Honor, this recording was made without my client's knowledge or consent. It's a violation of privacy and should be deemed inadmissible. Sandra didn't even stand up all the way. She was already halfway through her response before Lori's lawyer sat down. Your Honor, Virginia is a one-party consent state. The camera was placed in the home of my client's father, a home where my client grew up and had regular access. The recording captures potential criminal activity. It is fully admissible under state law. The judge didn't hesitate. Overruled, the video will be admitted. Lori's lawyer sat down. For the first time, I saw Lori's composure crack. Just a flicker. Her jaw tightened, her fingers curled around the edge of the table. But it was there. She knew. The judge watched the video in chambers first. When he came back into the courtroom, he looked at Lori the way you look at something you've stepped in. Then Nathan testified. He walked to the stand in a suit that didn't quite fit, probably borrowed, and he told his whole story. Steady voice, clear eyes, different state, different man, same woman, same playbook. He described how Lori had married his father, isolated him from family, changed his will while he was on his deathbed, and walked away with everything. "And you were unable to challenge the will at that time?" Sandra asked. "I had no evidence. It was my word against hers, and she's very convincing. What happened to you after the will was upheld?" Nathan paused. "I lost everything. My father's house, his business, the money he'd saved for my education. I've spent the last 12 years rebuilding from nothing." Lori's lawyer objected. "Irrelevant, prejudicial." The judge looked at him. "Pattern of behavior is admissible. Overruled." "How'd continue?" The doctor was next. When confronted with the video showing Dad clearly sedated versus his letter claiming Dad was mentally competent, he folded like paper. Sandra put the letter on one screen and the video on another, side by side. A letter saying Darren Hayes was of sound mind, and a video showing a man who couldn't hold his own head up. "Dr. Morrison, can you explain the discrepancy?" The doctor stared at both screens. He opened his mouth, closed it, then quietly. "Mrs. Hayes approached me about the letter. She said it was a formality. She offered to invest in my practice." "How much?" $50,000. "And you signed a medical document without examining the patient in exchange for a financial investment?" Yes." His medical license was referred for review before he even left the building. Lori sat through all of it with her hands in her lap. The warm smile was gone. The charm was gone. The woman who had walked into every room like she owned it now sat small and still, like she was trying to disappear into the chair. She looked like exactly what she was, a woman who had run out of lies. The judge invalidated the forged will. Restored my father's original will, the one that left everything to me and Macy, with Lori having the right to live in the house only until she remarried. He also referred the case to the district attorney for criminal charges: elder abuse, fraud, financial exploitation. As the judge read the ruling, I looked at Lori. She was staring straight ahead, not at the judge, not at me, not at anyone, just staring at the wall behind the bench like she was watching her entire life collapse in real time, which I suppose she was. Outside the courtroom, Nathan was waiting. He didn't say anything. He just walked up to me and shook my hand, held it for a long time. Then he said, "Thank you, not just for this, for proving I wasn't crazy. For 12 years, I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe my dad really did want to leave everything to her. You just gave me 12 years of my sanity back." I didn't know what to say to that, so I just nodded. Sometimes that's enough. Lori was arrested 2 weeks later. The charges were serious: elder abuse, fraud, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Bail was set at $100,000. She paid it, with my father's money, the last of it she still had access to before the accounts were frozen. Using a dead man's stolen money to bail yourself out of jail for stealing from that same dead man. There's a word for that, but I don't think it's been invented yet. The news picked it up. Local station first, then it spread. Richmond woman accused of manipulating dying husband's will. Alleged second victim comes forward. Lori's face was on the evening news. Her name was in the paper. The same woman who posted vacation selfies on my father's dime was now a headline. Her friends disappeared first. The women she'd brunch with, the neighbors she'd waved to, gone. Phone calls unanswered, invitations rescinded. It turns out people don't like being associated with someone accused of exploiting dying men. Who knew? And the boyfriend? The one she whispered to on the phone while Dad was dying? The one she promised, "It's just you and me soon"? He vanished, changed his number, blocked her on everything, deleted his social media. And the moment things got real, the moment the money disappeared and the charges appeared, he was gone. Like he'd never existed. Like she'd never existed to him. Lori hired a defense attorney for the criminal trial. To pay for it, she had to sell her own condo, the one asset that was actually hers. The woman who tried to steal $1 million estate was now selling her own home to afford a lawyer to keep her out of prison. Macy asked me once if I felt satisfied. We were sitting on the porch of Dad's house, our house now, drinking coffee on a Saturday morning. Satisfied isn't the right word, I said. Then what is? I thought about it. Finished. I feel finished. Like I held up my end of a promise. Dad's promise? Yeah. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "He'd be proud of you, Colby. You know that, right?" I know. I didn't celebrate when Lori lost everything. I didn't feel victory. I felt the way you feel when you've been holding your breath underwater for a very long time and you finally break the surface. Not joy, just air, just the ability to breathe again. 3 months after the trial, Macy and I went to Dad's house, our house, to clean it up. Lori had left it in bad shape, half-finished renovations, furniture moved around, walls painted colors Dad would have hated. We worked in silence mostly, pulling down curtains, moving boxes, putting things back where they belonged. I was cleaning out Dad's office, the small room in the back where he used to do his books, when I found it. Bottom drawer of his desk, an envelope yellowed at the edges, with his handwriting on the front. For Colby, open when you need to remember who you are. I sat down on the floor, right there, dust on my jeans, sweat on my forehead, and I opened it. Son, I'm writing this on your 18th birthday. You probably won't see this for a long time. Maybe not until I'm gone, but I need you to know something. After your mother died, I watched you become the man of this house. You made breakfast for your sister. You drove her to school. You held this family together when I could barely hold myself together. You were 14 years old and you were braver than I've ever been. Everything I've built, this house, the savings, all of it, I built because I wanted you and Macy to have a life without struggle. But the truth is, you don't need any of it. You never did. You're the strongest person I know, Colby, and I'm proud of you. And not for what you've done, for who you are. Take care of your sister. She needs you more than she knows. Love, Dad. I sat on that floor and I cried, not for the house or the money or the trial, for him, for the man who made cereal the morning after a funeral, for the father who saw me, really saw me, even when I thought no one was looking, for the man who wrote this letter on my 18th birthday and tucked it away in a drawer, trusting that I'd find it exactly when I needed it. He knew. Even then, he knew I'd need to remember who I was someday. Macy found me there. She stopped in the doorway, saw my face, and didn't ask what happened. She just walked over and sat down next to me on the dusty floor. I handed her the letter. She read it slowly. Her lips moved with the words. When she got to, "Take care of your sister. She needs you more than she knows." She let out a small sound. Not quite a cry, not quite a laugh, something in between. "He wrote this when I was 13, she said quietly. "Yeah. He already knew I'd need you. He always knew more than he let on." She leaned her head on my shoulder. I put my arm around her, and we sat there together in our father's house, in our father's room, surrounded by boxes and dust and years of memories that no forged document could ever erase. We didn't speak. We didn't need to. Some things don't need words. Some things just need someone sitting next to you who understands. Who was there before the storm and who stayed after? Dad was gone, but he was still holding us together, still showing up, still making sure the cereal was on the table, even from wherever he was now. I folded the letter carefully and put it in my pocket, close to my chest, where it would stay. And that, I think, is the only kind of forever that actually exists. Not in wills or bank accounts or houses, but in a handwritten letter in a dusty drawer, in a bowl of cereal on the worst morning of your life, in a father's voice, quiet but certain, saying, "I see you. I'm proud of you. You're going to be okay." We locked up the house that evening. Macy and I stood on the porch, looking at the front yard Dad had mowed every Saturday morning for 30 years. The sun was setting. The street was quiet. "Same time next weekend?" Macy asked. "Same time next weekend." She hugged me, tight, the kind of hug that says everything a person can't put into words. Then she got in her car and drove away. I stood on that porch for a few more minutes. Just me and the house and the fading light. I pulled out the letter one more time, read the last line again. "You're the strongest person I know, Colby, and I'm proud of you, not for what you've done, for who you are." I put it back in my pocket, walked to my car, drove home, And for the first time in a very long time, home didn't feel like a place I'd lost. It felt like something I'd found.